Yeah, I'm under the storm here in my car, trying to make it home.
Oh yeah, there's a big storm here too. You're in Jersey, I
Mm,
assume?
yeah, yeah, I'm in Jersey.
Where in Jersey?
I'm in Elizabeth right now.
Oh, I live in Rahway.
Uh, I'm around the corner.
Yep, indeed.
Mm.
No wonder you're having that tough time. It's definitely a lot of rain.
It is flooded all over.
Oh gosh. And I hear
Yeah.
I have my windows open, so I hear it.
I'm waiting for it to come down so I can run inside.
Oh gosh. And you're listening to me while you do it? Well, of course you're the first person here. See, the link at it my Zoom, when I went and logged into Zoom, all my scheduled webinars were like gone. I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Huh.
everything was gone." So
I
last
just,
minute I had to send everybody a new link. I'm sorry, what were we going to say?
yeah, I just got the new link.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, you're the only one
Said,
that's here. It's just you and me.
uh,
Anything you want to ask me?
no, not at the moment. We'll wait a few minutes if somebody else comes in. Um,
Well, what's your interest in notes? Do you own notes now or?
no, no, I just want to learn more about it.
Oh, very cool.
Uh, I'm in the process of getting into buying and selling, fixer uppers.
Right, fix and flipping.
Yeah.
So
Like,
you feel like you might be more interested in being the bank than being a fix and flipper?
why not? Maybe.
Well,
So,
I tell you, I absolutely despise owning real estate. Over the course of time, we've ended up with some properties through foreclosure, and owning real estate just sucks
it's a
for me.
hassle. Yeah, if you have an easier way to do it, then I'm all ears. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, owning real estate for me is just sort of like the worst of the worst. You have to worry about taxes. You got to worry about this. You got to worry about that. Really quite annoying, actually.
Yeah, it's a hustle. Um,
It is, and especially we buy notes all over the country, so we end up sometimes with properties in like other states, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? I have a house in Ohio. You know what I mean? What am I going to do with that?
hmm. uh, I sure would like to learn more about it.
Well,
And
good. What do you do in your everyday life?
I have a small trucking company.
Oh, how
Yeah.
cool! I used to work at the Port of Elizabeth.
Really?
I used to work for Mar
Oh,
Terminals.
oh
No, no, no. I used to work for Mar Terminals when it was Mar Terminals before what it is now.
no. Okay.
When the
When
brothers
it-
Mar owned it.
Oh, okay. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Oh,
I worked there for a long time. I was in charge of. I was an IT manager in charge of all of the financial programs, including the payrolls.
okay. I um I try to stay away from the ports, even though that's what most of the work is now. But luckily for me, I have work out of the rails. I don't know if you're familiar with the rails.
Like
Yeah,
Millennium.
no, the rail yards like CSX,
Oh,
Rail,
right. Well,
Croxon,
Millennium Rail goes through there, and Mar owns a share of that.
Millennium. I know over here we have Norfolk, we have CSX. Those are the two main rails in Jersey. And that's what I do. My son actually runs a day to day, he runs a company and I'm outside looking for other things to do.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used
So,
to. That we actually. It was interesting because the union associated with rail workers is Pexel, and they don't get paid a lot, but they have amazing annuities,
hmm,
like amazing annuities, and they don't make a ton. I mean, they top out at like I think 25. Well, they used to anyway. Top out at like 25 an hour, but their annuity is like through the roof. It's like $12 an hour an annuity.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
amazing actually.
So you live in Broadway now?
I do, yep.
Oh, okay, okay.
I live.
And all you do right now is just buying notes around? Or-
Yeah, when I left Mar, like I said, the brothers Mar still own the company.
Mhm.
Well, that's not true. I actually left after the sale, but shortly thereafter. When they sold the company, they did it in a very happy way in terms of bonuses for employees.
Okay.
So I was left with ridiculous amounts of money.
Wow.
And I decided to take a year or two off, and I did some pretty cool things. And I was also consulting out on Wall Street, consulting for Mars. I was doing a lot of double dipping, making like just outrageous money. And so I took a couple years off and played. And then when I was done playing, I said to myself, oh boy, I have to buy myself a job. Otherwise, I'm going to be screwed. And that's how I ended up in notes.
Okay. You buy like private notes, or you go through the banks, or?
We mostly buy direct to banks with one intermediary, like one broker in the middle.
Okay.
But we happen to have, tremendous amount of resource, which, banks don't want to sell 50,000 worth. They want to sell 50, a million worth. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see. Okay.
So you have to have like some substantial money to get direct to the bank.
Okay. Hmm.
Well, it looks like nobody else is coming in. I'm usually packed by now. Jeez, Louise,
Or
Zoom really messed me up.
something probably with a link, and maybe they didn't get a new one.
Yeah, it really messed when I went to log in to start the normal, because I have them as recurring with the same link over and over again.
Okay.
And it was gone. It went away. And I was like, oh, geez, I better email everybody right away. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
why?
Jay. Jay, did you get a mic yet? Jay, did you get a mic
Hello?
yet?
Guess
Jay,
what?
you got a mic.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I am so happy.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
Glad to speak.
I am glad to hear you. Oh my goodness.
And now I'm getting popping. Is that normal?
I think it might be the rain
Oh,
Yeah.
because
okay.
I have my windows open.
All right.
So Jack, you don't know this because you're not a regular, but Jay is one of our most prolific chatters and commenters, except he never had a mic before. So I used to have to read everything he wrote.
Oh.
And so
Okay.
I'm so excited that he got a microphone.
Hi,
Wow.
Jack and everybody.
Well, so
How
far
you
it's
doing,
just you
Jay?
and Jack. I got messed up. I was telling Jack when I logged into my Zoom, my normal every 2 week thing, and I was getting ready to start my webinar because I preset them with recurring webinars, on a recurring schedule. They were all gone. I was like, oh no, I have to put a new link. I have to tell everybody it's a different link. I had to go crazy and start a new thing. So far it's just you and Jack. You guys are the only ones who seem to have gotten the message.
Mhm.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm
Try to
glad
run
to hear
inside
you.
now. Oh no.
Oh, he's running in. You're gonna risk it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, I'm
I'm
crossing my
running.
fingers. Crossing my fingers for you.
Oh, God. All right. It's bad out there. Jesus.
You're right in the
right.
middle of all of it, huh?
Crazy. All right. Oh man.
Yeah, Jay, I don't know if it's raining up there, but it's raining here like crazy.
Where's Jay from?
At New York.
Oh, okay. Probably it's raining out there too. Is it, Jay?
I'm in Nashville.
Oh, Nashville.
Oh.
Why did I think you were in New York? Oh boy. All right, I'm
Because
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were in Long Island, actually. I'm a bit of a twit. You're in Nashville, huh?
Yes.
Nashville is great.
Yes,
It's a
indeed.
good market down there.
Oh, yes.
Good market indeed. Well, we have a
Nashville,
lot of rain up here. It's actually really dark and miserable.
Oh,
It's flooded all over.
Yeah, it should still be like bright and sunshiny right now. And it's just miserable. And I just found out that me and Jack are practically neighbors.
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Jay, now that you can talk, what do you want to talk about? Tell me something good.
well,
Tell me something good.
uh, I'm trying to look for something to share that I came across this week.
Oh, fantastic. Tell me what you got.
I'm looking to see. Oh, I found it. Good. Uh, it's called paperstack.com.
Paperstack. Yep. Paperstack is a place where you could buy notes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So do you have affiliation with it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. It's just a good name.
Yeah.
Since we all buy paper, it's just a good name.
Yes. So a person can do some due diligence online, live on this website.
So they're probably going to, let me go there and I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's been it's been a long time since I've been there. Oop, let me mute that. I play whenever I stream it, it plays and then I get messed up.
Mhm.
All right, let me see. All right, so what they're basically doing, just for your own edification, they have their assets online and they're going to tell you what they know about the note.
Mhm.
So just for your own edification, for me personally, I don't trust anybody's due diligence except my own.
Yes.
Okay. So they're going to tell you things and what you need to do. Oh no, Jack lost his mic.
Oh,
Dag nabbit. So can you get it back? So you can't trust anybody's due diligence but your own. And if you do, you have a fool for a buyer. You understand what I mean?
yes.
Yeah. So
Yourself.
exactly. And so, you don't want to. Yeah, I don't hear you, Jack. Maybe click out and click back in. Try that. See if you can reset it. So yeah, that would be my best advice to you, is to not trust anybody's due diligence but your own. Always do your own. You're never going to be able to do it on somebody's website. You're always going to have to do it yourself, like title searches and things you can do yourself.
Uh-huh.
Credit reports your seller will provide to you. Just make sure they're current, and if they're not, ask them for a current one. Pacer, you can look up yourself. It's, accounts for Pacer are free. So you can do all of your own due diligence, and you really, really should, because if you trust their due diligence and they're not honest, guess what'll happen?
It'll be disastrous.
You be screwed. You be out some money. You be out some money, honey.
Yes.
So I strongly recommend that you do your own due diligence. And it's not that difficult.
Okay. And you mentioned Pacer. Is that a website?
So Pacer is the website of the federal court system. No states, just federal. And what do you think might be there that I'd be interested in for my notes? Pop quiz.
Judgments.
Bankruptcies.
Yeah.
Bankruptcies are a federal proposition. They have nothing to do with the state. It's a federal case when you file a bankruptcy. And so basically you could search Pacer to see if borrowers are in bankruptcy, if they've ever filed bankruptcy in the past, what kind of bankruptcy they're in, whether it's a reorg or just, getting rid of the debt, that kind of thing. So Pacer is kind of important. You'd want to know if your borrower was in bankruptcy. You'd find foreclosures during a title search. So you really should just be doing all of your own due diligence. It's not that difficult. If you're looking at a huge tape of like 30 notes, just start with 5. Pick the 5 best ones on the tape.
Mm-hmm.
Mathematically. Start with those. And if those pass muster, then go to the next 5 good ones on the tape and do those, until you feel comfortable that the tape is going to be a moneymaker for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Because even if you have some losses, like I personally would look at about 15 out of 30 notes. If 15 notes on a tape of 30 were good, I would buy the tape because I don't really care about the other 15, even if they lose money.
Okay.
I'm going to make enough money in those 15 that I don't really care about the other 15. Chances are I'm going to make money there too. But that's my gravy. That's my icing.
I understand.
Good. It's all about the numbers. It's just, did you listen to my webinar on that it's a numbers game?
I was listening. You've said that several times over the past months. I've listened to you say that.
Yeah, it really is just a numbers. I'm so sorry, Jack, that you can't. Can you maybe call in? I think there's a phone number. How do we call it in? Hang on, let me go to Zoom and see if there's a call in. Hang on just a moment. So I have a webinar ID. I just don't know what the call-in number is. Oh boy. I'm gonna send myself an invitation. Oh, I hear somebody. Is that your phone ringing there, Jay?
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay.
Is that you calling me?
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm not. I'm trying to figure out for Jack what the call-in number is. I just don't know how to do that. Oh, that's so funny. Is that your whole ringtone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
You like the ringtone?
Yeah, it's like it's very whimsical. It reminds me of like Disneyland or
Yes.
Yeah. Almost like what was that?
The thing that goes around in the circle.
The teacups is what I was thinking of.
At the circus.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Jack, I see your phone number and your email. All right, hang on just a moment. All right, so Jack, I wish I could tell you how to get in. I just don't know how. It's very disturbing because I never call in.
Was it ever on one of the website invitations, the phone number?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what they look like from the receiver's perspective.
Okay.
It's all right. Well, you guys are like my captive audience because you're the only ones who got the message that the link changed.
Yeah, I went to the first link and then I said, oh, it's not, I don't see the link at all. So then
Right.
I backed out and then I said, oh, there's another one. So I clicked on the second one.
Right, because I went to Zoom to start the webinar because I set up like a recurring set of webinars, like all the same link over and over again.
Yes.
And they were all gone.
Mm.
And I was like, what happened? And Zoom must have done something, updated something. So it wasn't very good at all. So, God.
I know Zoom updates itself seem like almost every week.
Oh, I know. It's a little bit annoying. You always have to have the latest and greatest in order. It's just so annoying.
Yeah.
And I'm very unhappy with it since it's Chinese owned anyway. I'd like
it
to
is?
it is, yeah.
Mm.
Everybody's using it too. So China's getting all of our information. Everybody's court information and everybody's classroom information, everybody's everything is all going straight to the Chinese.
Mm.
Oh, Jack's like, maybe I need to upgrade. But you might have to. It's bizarre, Jack. Zoom is it's continual. It's a little bit annoying, but it does seem to work the best. That's unfortunate. That's why I use it.
Uh-huh.
So what else you got, Jay? What other research have you been doing that you want to talk about? Because Jack is here to learn. So anything you want to ask, you can ask.
Okay. So did we explain to Jack about the women part?
Oh, the Women in Notes?
Yes.
Well, Women in Notes is me and Kathy, my partner. Women in Notes, WIN. We just like the acronym. That's why we did it. But because our motto is Women in Notes, but we love pants. In other words, men are welcome.
Oh, okay.
We love men too.
Yeah.
So we're good either way.
All right. Yeah, when you first added that name, WIN, I thought it was going to be exclusively for women.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I would never do that. I like everybody.
Okay.
I like everybody all the time. But it's a great acronym. WIN.
Yes, yes indeed.
That's what I think we even says it on there. I think it says it on the webpage. Women in Notes, but we love men.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I would never tell somebody they can't join, or that wouldn't be right. That would just be terrible.
Yeah.
And then we have this chick doing her running in her business suit with her briefcase. Did you see this? The main picture on the meetup? I did not pick that picture. And that is obviously not me.
Okay.
I think our marketing guy picked that picture. So that's kind of funny.
Yes.
The website for the meetup, it's meetup.com. And then the name of our meetup is WIN! Women in Notes. Let me see if I don't know if you can see well, obviously you can see the chat. I'm a bit of a twit. Let me put the link in there. No, Jay, I would not discriminate against pants. I love pants. Pants are good.
Yes. Oh, I see a number. Well, no, that must be your company's number, 888 number.
888-507-7220?
Yes.
Yeah, that's our number.
Oh, okay.
Not that if you called it, anybody would ever answer it.
I called and left you a message.
Did you?
Yeah, about 2 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh, I think I was still in the hospital. I remember getting an email from Kathy. Yeah, I was, I was in the hospital for like 6 or 7 weeks, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, sir. I was in the
Ah.
hospital for like 6 or 7 weeks. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
like 3 surgeries and yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I couldn't get on for that period of time.
Well, I did 2 of them from the hospital.
You did?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
One of them, I think I probably blew off. I was probably still. Oh, Jack, yeah, all is well. I'm on the mend. I still probably actually should be in the hospital, but I was like, I want to go home. But the 3 surgeries caused some very deep wounds,
Oh.
actually in my groin area, believe it or not. And so they're just really, really deep surgical wounds.
Yeah.
And so, but it's okay, actually. It's not that painful, believe it or not. It is okay. But what happened to me is that I actually, I'm a fairly heavy smoker, or at least I used to be up until 6 or 7 weeks ago, or 8 weeks ago. And of course, I am not afraid to beverage, the adult beverage, and drink a lot of coffee, and basically all the bad stuff that people do, I do. And apparently, I threw a aortic abdominal embolism, which means I threw a clot in my legs, and both of my legs were numb and
Oh,
useless.
wow.
And so I had a surgery for that. And then 2 weeks later, I threw another clot and had another surgery. And 3 days later, I threw another clot and had a third surgery. So anyway, that was what it was all about.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was in the hospital for a very long time, and all is indeed well now. And I appreciate you, Jack. Thank you. I was actually did you know Rahway has a little hospital? I had no idea. I did not know there was a hospital in my little town here. So I was in Rahway Hospital for like from June 1st until July 8th. So maybe that was like 5.5 weeks. And then I was in recuperation for 2.5 weeks. I just got home. I just got to my house, like, I don't know, 3 days ago, 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the first 4 days ago was the first time I walked into my house since May 31st. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So you did recuperation at another place?
Yeah, I sure did.
Oh, okay.
I sure did. And not a hospital. I was at Kathy's house, my partner's house.
Uh-huh.
I was at her house, and she was taking care of me like the best friend that she is.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she's fairly amazing.
Yeah.
Although it would have been more fun if she had given me a bell. That way I could ring it whenever I needed to.
Yeah.
She wouldn't give me a bell, though. But that just would have been funny.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I am back, and I am on the mend, and maybe that's when all this stuff happened with Zoom. Who knows? But yeah. So but let's talk notes. Tell me what you want to tell me. I want to answer questions. That's what this is all about. So Jack writes, so can you tell me a little bit about how to make money with notes? And then he added some cute little emoji. What is that? Is that like a little businessman? Oh, that's funny. So how do you make money with notes? The short answer is this: you buy them really, really cheap because they're worthless paper, and you turn that worthless paper into value. And then once you have value, what you do with it is up to you, whether you hold it or sell it, leverage it, a whole bunch of different options you can do. So that's the short answer of how you make money with notes. So now I'll get into a little bit more depth. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have and bear in mind, I like second position notes. So the example I'll give you will be a second position note. We could talk about first positions too, but I'll definitely use a second position as an example. And a second position would be something like a HELOC or money for college, something along that line. Second loan on the house. So let's say you have $100,000 second position note, and you know your borrower is delinquent, hasn't made a payment in 2 years, and it's second position, so you don't really want to go through the whole foreclosure process or anything. So anyway, and you're Wells Fargo. So you say to yourself, I just want this off my books. I'm going to sell this. But you can't get 100,000 for it because nobody's paid on it in 2 years. It's worthless paper. So you find somebody to sell it, and you maybe sell it for 20,000 instead of 100,000. So maybe you're going to sell it to me, and I'm going to buy it for $20,000. So now I have this worthless piece of paper with somebody's signature on it that I just bought for 20 grand, right? So when I said before about creating value, how do you create value? You create value by getting in touch with borrower X and saying, hey, borrower X, I know you owe me $100,000, but would it help you if you owed me 85,000? We'll knock 15,000 off. Would it help you instead of taking 12 years to pay, you take 30 years to pay? That'll reduce your payment. And you get them to pay you. It's called a workout. So you secure a workout with the borrower. Now you no longer have worthless paper. Now you have paper with value to it. And then, so now you know, few months, 6 months in, they're making the payments. Life is good. People are paying. Your borrower is paying. That's awesome. So now what do you do with it? Are you a buy and holder? Like PAC, Paper Assets Capital, where I am, we're buy and holders. We don't really sell a lot of stuff. But maybe you need more money for the next note. So you could either leverage it, like borrow money against it. You could sell a partial off, or you could sell the whole note outright and buy the next note, create value and sell it. Buy the next note, create value and sell it. Buy the next note, create value and sell it. And that's how you earn money in notes. Does that make sense? Awesome.
To me too.
Awesome. So that's sort of like the short answer of how this is done. I mean, there is a whole lot more nuance to it, obviously. But basically that's how it's done. And then eventually you don't buy one-offs, you buy because one-offs are going to be kind of expensive, right? So, because people want to sell in bulk. They want to sell 30 notes at a time as opposed to one note at a time. What just happened? Oh, so the more notes you buy at once, the cheaper the price. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
If you're going to buy one-offs, you're going to pay a higher price. It's sort of like the difference between shopping at ShopRite versus Costco. You spend more at Costco, but you get a lot more at a cheaper price. Same idea. Because you need 30 gallons of mayonnaise. Everybody needs 30 gallons of mayonnaise. I am, of course, kidding. So now within that explanation I just gave you, Jack, do you have a question? Jay, do you have a question?
I'll let Jack go first.
It's so funny. He put this cute little emoji it's like a businessman. It's so funny. Looks like a businessman praying, actually.
Let me see. Can I see his thing?
Yeah.
Where is he?
It's in the chat. There should be a chat option.
Okay, let's see. Chat. Oh, he must be sending it directly to you.
Oh, maybe.
Because all I see is the link to Women in Notes.
Oh, yeah, he might be DMing me. Again, I don't really see it from
Oh,
that
wait
perspective.
a minute. Yeah, I clicked on all panelists and attendees. Oh, that's for me. So,
Okay.
all right, so he's an attendee, right?
Yep, he sure is.
Okay, let me just type in here. Hi, Jack. I am here. Okay, that way you know.
Well, he's an attendee as well.
Okay.
No, Jack says everybody should see it, all panelists, but you're an attendee, not a panelist. The only panelist here is me.
Okay, so Jack will need there. I see Jack now.
Okay, there you go.
So we are all three together.
Awesome. I'm so happy. So he did write some questions here.
Okay.
And his questions are, Jack, I have to tell you, Jay has been one of my most loyal attendees. And this is the first time he's ever been able to speak. And he's always been very sweet. And I'm so glad to hear you, Jay.
Yes, I knew this would surprise you.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
He's always been sweet and great with good questions. I like it. All right, so Jack does have some questions. So he says, so where do you come in and where do we come in? So where do I come in is that I'm the buyer of the note from Wells Fargo, right? Where do you come in is you also are the buyer of the note from Wells Fargo, except you're probably going to have a few more layers in between you and Wells Fargo than I'm going to have, only because I've been doing this longer and I've already got different contacts. And, you know, different reputation, like people know me already. So they don't necessarily know you. It's going to be a little bit different. And Jay, you've heard us always talk about reputation in this business. It's a small, incestuous type of industry.
Yeah.
Everybody knows each other. So it's you know, and it's also sort of like a chicken and a hen house kind of relationship. Everybody talks about the other people. If you get a bad reputation, everybody's going to know it. Everybody. If you have a great reputation, everybody's going to know that too. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. So how do we make it happen? So how do you make it happen? First, because you have to remember, these are large investments, Jack. This isn't like investing like $3,000. This is investing, even if you want to buy one note, it's going to be 6,000 or 8,000. If you buy 5 notes, it could be 50,000 or 100,000, depending on the UPBs that you buy. So these are large investments. So you want to make sure you know what you're doing, number one, because it's kind of critical. And number two, that that you have a good source. Sourcing is everything. And again, you're going to always, until your reputation is established and you've made a few purchases and everybody knows you and you have a little bit more money, you're going to pay a little bit more for these notes. I mean, I can't stress that enough. I get the question all the time. How do I get the cheap notes? How do I get the cheap notes? It takes time. It takes establishment of reputation. And once you may do a couple deals and you fund them, people are going to be really happy to offer you notes. Really happy. And some deals are just stupid. Like Dream Builders offered us a tape, and they wanted, their average pricing they wanted was like 70 cents on the dollar for second position notes. Guess what our response was? I don't think so. And that's just insane. So you have to know what you're doing. But there are people that are going to buy those tapes. They're going to be so desperate for inventory, they're going to buy those tapes. And that's very sad. But, you know, I'm not going to be that person or get screwed like that. Time for you guys to talk.
Okay, I'm ready, Jack. You let's see. So what changes would the investor make based on the virus pandemic?
So it's an interesting question. We talked about the pandemic, I think, in May, didn't we? And so what's happening is like 30% of the people in the United States haven't made a mortgage payment in a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the general statistic. And so obviously the banks, but see, here's the thing. I don't know that it's necessarily going to release a ton of inventory because the banks recognize that people aren't making their payments because of the pandemic, not just because of random lack of payment.
Yes.
Like pre-pandemic would have been the scenario. And so I think the banks are going to be willing to hold on to this stuff, recognizing that most people still want to pay their mortgage. So I'm not so sure that during the pandemic, it's going to release a lot of inventory. I think once the pandemic is sort of cleared up and shored up, then we'll start to see the banks will evaluate what they still have, who still hasn't made any payments, who's permanently unemployed, and what inventory they're willing to sell at that point. So it'll probably be at about 6 to 8 months before you see inventory coming out of the pandemic. Having said that, interesting things have been happening in the pandemic in that property values have been going up.
Yes.
House sales have been going up.
Yes.
And that's interesting. So I'm not sure really how that's going to affect inventory that comes out from banks. You're not allowed to foreclose. There's a moratorium on foreclosure at the moment. And that's sort of your weapon against the borrower to get them to pay. That was a very bad way to phrase what I'm saying, but very accurate. You know, and if I need to bring a borrower to the table and they're not willing to talk to me on their own, my threat of foreclosure is my way to bring them to the table. So there's a moratorium on that. So you don't really have that as a weapon in your or as an arrow in your
quiver.
Yes, excellent. I'm getting old. I'm forgetting my words. Thank you so much. But do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not really sure at this moment. I don't think inventory is going to be relevant or coming out from the banks for the next 6 or 8 months, until the next 6 or 8 months. And there's a moratorium on foreclosure. So I don't really see a lot of stuff happening in the next few months, except people setting their businesses up and getting ready for what's to come. Do you understand what I mean? Now is a good time to be doing that. It's sort of like a hold period right now.
You're saying that some of the noted investors are shoring up their business? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. People who are looking to start in the note business, like now's the time to put all your ducks in a row, buy your domain, get your 1-800 number, establish everything. Or even if you don't get the 1-800 number, at least, start searching around for who you're going to use. That kind of thing. Like start putting your ducks in a row for when you are ready to dive into the note business, when the inventory is free flowing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, I don't think that's going to happen I think the banks, recognize that there's a specific reason right now as to why people are not paying their mortgage. Not that they don't want to, but in the pandemic and the lockdowns and the fact that, Jack and I live in a state with a communist governor, that's why people aren't paying their mortgages. Jack just laughed at me. I'm right. You agree with me, don't you, Jack? Do you agree with me? Say you agree. He is such a communist. I didn't start calling him a communist until he had a woman arrested for considering holding a protest of the lockdown. The protest hadn't happened. She was potentially organizing a protest, and she was arrested.
Yes.
Oh yeah, my governor is a communist. My governor also killed a lot of people by sending COVID positives to nursing homes.
Oh.
As did the governor of New York. You know what the death rate in New Jersey is?
What?
177 people per 100,000. We are the highest death rate in the country. Do you know what it is in New York?
What?
171 per 100,000. Second highest in the country. Do you know what it is in Florida? Florida's been getting the bad rap lately. You've been hearing on the news how terrible Florida is and the spike, and Ron DeSantis should be put in prison and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what the death rate there is?
What?
20 per 100,000. 20.
Whoa.
So our governors here, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, they put COVID positive patients in nursing homes and killed a lot of people.
Oh.
Lots of people. And what makes it so bad, Jay, is that Andrew Cuomo had Trump send up the SS Comfort and turn the Javits Center into a 2,600 bed hospital. And Samaritan's Purse set up a pop-up hospital in Central Park. So there were at least 4,000 beds for COVID patients. Why send them to nursing homes to murder old people?
That's sad.
It's very sad. Andrew Cuomo was on the news, was given a press, he's the governor of New York, was doing a press conference saying, who do we blame? Who do we hold responsible? You should have seen me. I'm standing here screaming at my TV, throwing empty water bottles at it, saying, you, we blame you. You're the one we blame. You're the one who belongs in prison for killing old people. You murdered them.
Jack says he didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he said that I think a while ago. It was about a different stat.
Oh, okay.
But think about that. Do you know what the death rate in Hawaii is? It's like 2 per 100,000. But everybody's giving Florida a bad rap. There's an uptick in massive amount of cases in Florida. 20 deaths per 100,000. And then everybody keeps talking about we have the highest death rate in the world. Do you know what? That's absolutely false. Our death rate is like 0.02%. People need to learn statistics and stop listening to CNN and MSNBC. They lie. They're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying. They have an agenda and they're sticking to it. They're lying. Believe me, I pull down the facts, all the statistics all the time from statistics.com. I download all the information. I put it into an Excel spreadsheet and I chart it.
Oh, okay.
Specifically about COVID.
Yeah.
So believe me, I know all of the statistics.
Yeah.
Even like, I don't know, politically, just for a moment, I may go off on something, and please indulge me for just a moment. So you know how we keep hearing, oh, look at this. Jack is going to keep me on notes. All right.
Yeah, I see that.
All right. I won't get political with you.
Okay.
Let me just give you one stat. One more stat, Jack, and then I will answer that question. Do you know how many unarmed black men were shot in 2019 by police? And if you don't know, take a guess what you think it might be based on everything you've heard. But either one of you. So Jack said lots. How many do you think, Jay?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. I'm speaking specifically about unarmed black men.
In the whole United States.
In 2019. Jack says lots. You say hundreds.
Yeah.
Would either of you be surprised to know that the answer is 9?
9?
Not 900, not 9,000, 9.
Really?
9. Would you 9? Jack just went, what? With 2
Yes.
T's. Yes. 9. Do you know how many unarmed white people were shot by police in 2019?
More than 9?
Yes, more than Black and Hispanic combined. Would you be surprised to know any of that?
I would be surprised, yes.
Absolutely, because what does the mainstream media tell you? I'm just telling you the facts that are out there. Unless you look at them for yourself, they're wrong.
Yeah.
White life doesn't matter. Black life doesn't matter. All lives matter.
Right.
That's the answer.
Yes.
All lives matter.
Right.
So a poor woman was shot in Indianapolis because she said that.
Oh, she was shot?
Yeah, she was shot and killed.
Oh, wow.
Mother of a young son was shot because she was walking past BLM protesters and she said, all lives matter. And she got shot, murdered. In one of the cities today, they just found a body in a burned out pawn shop that nobody knew was there. I mean, it's horrific stuff. The media is out of control because they're lying. They lie. Fox News isn't any better. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they lie. They all have their own slant, their own agenda. You want to know where I get the statistics about the deaths, the police deaths? The very left-leaning Washington Post.
You do?
Absolutely. You can download the information yourself and look it up if you don't believe what I've just told you. You can absolutely check it out for yourself. And the Washington Post is a very left-leaning, media paper.
Yeah. Wow.
But you can absolutely download all of the stats and statistics and check for yourself if you don't believe what I've said. And you shouldn't believe what I've said. You should always check for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So, Jack, you see that Kathy takes her notes training to the political field?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very, you know why? I'm very scared about what's happening to our country today.
Yeah.
And I want, they're actually creating division where there formerly was none.
Yes.
And that makes me really sad.
Yeah.
Because it's taking us to a place, not for nothing. I'm not Black, so I can't understand the struggle. I get that. I think pretty much well say that in 2020, it's probably better to be Black than to have been Black in 1940.
Right.
Right. Like really people have come a long, long way. And there are a lot of, wealthy athletes that are Black that make millions upon millions of dollars, and rappers and singers and news pundits, and nobody's being held back. The only thing that's holding people back is their own inner beliefs, or inner motivation. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this whole thing about the left starting to create racism where there was none. And really what's happening is you take somebody who didn't have a racist bone in their body, now all of a sudden starts feeling like they have to defend being white because they're constantly being attacked for being white.
Yeah.
What do you think that does? That creates division. And it's, they're creating racism where none existed. And it's a really bad place that we're in this country. And I'm very scared about it, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
So yes, I do go off on the tangents because I want people to get back to where we used to be, which was a pretty good place.
Yeah.
It was a really good place. We were in a great place. Anyway, yeah, that's what makes me sad.
I can see that. Yeah.
It really does. I'm doing my best, and I don't want anybody to ever believe anything I say. I want everybody to go find their own information or back up what I'm saying or find it out for themselves. Like the fact that I just told you 9 unarmed Black men. You shouldn't believe me just because I said it. You should go to Washington Post, download the data, and look for yourself.
Mhm.
They keep better records, by the way, the Washington Post, than the FBI does, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, in terms of
Hmm.
statistics, yeah.
Let me write that down. Washington Post.
Yeah, you could actually just Google it. Washington Post. Maybe I can put a link to the data in there. I only download it once a year so that I can have it for like the next year.
Huh?
Yeah, there it is. I'll put a link to it. And you could just download it. And I think they started doing it in 2015.
Hmm.
But whenever I tell people that it's 9, they're shocked.
Yes.
They could, because they believe what the news tells them, that
Uh-huh.
it's this prolific problem. Also, the second part of it is compliance. If you're being stopped by police, you need to comply.
Yes.
And a lot of times there's a different level of compliance. And that's going to get, that's also going to be a factor in a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back to Jack's question now that I've got my little rant out of the way. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sad about America today. Does a note show on a person's credit report? So here's the thing. If you own the notes versus Wells Fargo owning the notes, you have to own 3,000 notes in order to be able to report to credit agency, credit bureau. So once you get to be wildly, ridiculously successful to the point where you own 3,000 notes, then you can report to a credit bureau. Until then, the answer is no, it will not show up on their credit report. And once it's been sold, if it's been sold to somebody like you or me from Wells Fargo, it will fall off the credit report. It'll say transferred to a different lender or something along that line. Does that answer your question, or you want me to expand on that? Oh, you mean I answered your next question before you even asked it? That is spectacular.
Yes.
I love it when that happens. Well, let's keep it going. Otherwise, I'm going to go political on your butt again. It's the only way to keep me apolitical is to get me talking about notes.
So, as far as credit report, what about the note holder? Does that go on a credit report?
So again, who is the note holder? Is it you or is it Wells Fargo?
Okay, let's say Jack owns a note.
Okay.
All right, and then let's say that note is
Delinquent.
yeah. Let's say I'm the person that making the payments to Jack.
Okay.
All right, and let's say
Are you current or are you delinquent?
let's say I'm current.
Okay.
Let's say that there's 4,000 of me. We're all current.
So
Okay.
Jack owns 4,000 notes.
Yes.
And
So-
they're all current.
Yes.
That's like impossible, but okay.
So does that boost Jack's credit
No,
higher?
no,
It does not.
does nothing to Jack.
Oh.
And actually, it's going to cost Jack money to report to credit agencies.
Oh.
So even though he's now able to report to credit agencies because he's got 4,000 notes, he might still not want to. There's no obligation to, and it costs you money to do it.
Hmm.
So you still might not want to report to a credit bureau.
Hmm.
Just saying.
Okay.
What tools do we have to get the person to start a payment plan? So here's the tools that you have. Let's go back to my original example. It's a $100,000 note and you paid 20, 30,000 for it. You can, so you basically got a discount of $70,000. You could share that discount with the borrower. So that's your first tool, is to be able to say, well, instead of you owing me 100, maybe you only owe me 80 and forgive 20,000. You could extend the terms. You could say, well, I realize you only had 12 years left, but what if I extend it back out to 30 years? That'll reduce the payment. Can you afford that payment? You can reduce the interest rate if you choose. I personally don't recommend it, but you can. You could reduce it from, let's say they got it in 2008 and it was a 12% note. You could reduce it to 8%, 7% if they do direct deposit, something along that line. You can't increase an interest rate, but you can lower an interest rate. Those are the tools regarding the numbers. Another tool you have is, you want to bring them to the table. You want to get them to talk to you, which means you have to develop a relationship with them. It won't happen on the first time you talk to them. It may happen on the fourth time you talk to them. The first 3 phone calls are going to be establishing trust between you and the borrower. The fourth phone call will be talking turkey. How much can we do and how can we get there? That's another tool you have, is getting them to trust you, because you do want to help them, right? That's your general philosophy, is you want to help people and you want to make money. Another one is people who won't come to the table. You can send a demand letter from an attorney. I'm about to foreclose on your house. You have 90 days to respond. If you don't, I'm going to foreclose. That's what a demand letter says. And hopefully that brings them to the table. If that doesn't bring them to the table, depending on how much equity you have in your position, you can absolutely foreclose on them and take their house. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. If that's the only way for you to get your money back. I always tell people, I don't like to foreclose on people, but when I bought this thing, I didn't buy it with monopoly money. I bought it with real money, and I need to make my money back. So I never buy a note with the intention of foreclosing, but it's been known to happen. Does that make sense? Jack? Jay?
Yes. I'm watching Jack. Okay.
A lot of J's in here. You guys should call me Jeff. Jack, Jay, and Jeff, all in the room.
Yeah.
That's if the borrower owes well, he does. Of course, the borrower owns a house. You're buying a mortgage. Notes are mortgages. Well, that's not true. There are other kinds of notes. I specifically buy mortgage notes, meaning the borrower owns a house. If you wanted to buy other kinds of notes, that's a whole other business unto itself. Mortgage notes are pretty specific to the equity position in the house. Are you thinking about, Jack, a different line of notes that you were interested in investing in? Okay, yes, we are talking about mortgage loans, right? So there's always a house involved somewhere. Always. May not be a great house, but it's a house. I mean, there are other kinds of notes that are worth getting into theoretically, like student loan debt is something that theoretically you could get into, or car loans, that kind of thing. I mean, it's probably a lot harder to make money doing it, but it's probably a lot cheaper to get started. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So you saying you prefer not to deal with first position notes?
Yeah, I do not like first positions at all. There are a lot of people that like first positions, and um, oh, um, they believe that the first position is less risky and more secured. And that may be true to a certain extent, except that they're also a lot more expensive. And the UPB is a lot higher, which means even more expense. So I'll give you an example. And I think you might have seen this before, Jay, but I'll put it up there anyway. Hang on just a moment. Let's see. Where is my thing? I want to show you a pretty specific slide. Yes, you get a slide today. Jack, are you in a position where you can actually see the screen?
I see the screen.
Okay. Let me see. Where'd be my Zoom? There it is. I'm trying to bring the chat back up. Okay. All right. So this is the best example I can give you. Let's say you have $100,000 to deploy. These are all conservative numbers. Let's say the average UPB of a first position note is 75,000 average UPB. And just in case we're unsure about what UPB means, it means unpaid principal balance. The UPB on a second average is say 25,000. You see that not only are the dollar values higher, but the price points are higher, right? So price point on a first may be 65 cents, maybe 80 cents, maybe 85 cents. Price point on a second is 30 cents, could also be up to 40 or 50 cents, depending on who you're buying from, what you're getting, equity, that kind of thing. But let's just go with the 65 and this 30. Basic math tells you that for your 100,000, you can get 2 first position notes. You can get 13 second position notes. 13. Now, go back to Jay. Remember, I always talk about it being a numbers game, right?
Right.
Do you think you're going to have more luck making money when you only own 2 notes or when you have 13 notes?
13 by the numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's say you buy these 2 first notes, right? And one of them turns out to be the loser of all time. You've lost $50,000. You better hope that you make way more than 50,000 on the other note. You probably won't, but let's hope you do. Let's say in the second position, let's say 6 of those 13 work out and 7 are lost. Based on the lower price point that I bought them at, if I make money on the 6, I've paid for them and then some. Do you understand? Does that make sense to everybody?
I do.
I hope.
I understand.
Okay. Does that make sense to you, Jack? Okay. So everybody thinks firsts are more secure. And again, to a certain extent, they are. But let's say you buy a first, you live in New Jersey, and you buy a first in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Or you live in Nashville and you buy a first in New Jersey. Stick with that example.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through all of the effort of foreclosing. And in New Jersey, it's lengthy and expensive. So let's say you spent not only the money that you spent on the note, but another $10,000 to foreclose, maybe even 20, and 6 years. And then, so now you get the deed to the house. It's yours. You kick them out, right? You have this deed to this house in New Jersey that every single model, Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, HomeSnap, all told you this house was worth $300,000. And you get the keys to the house. You send a realtor in there, and the realtor comes back and tells you there's a 12 by 12 foot hole in the ceiling. And it's been raining into the house for the last 6 months. Do you think you're going to make money?
No.
Nope. The reason I feel like second position notes are actually more secure, ironically, than first is the second position notes that we buy them over performing firsts. In other words, the homeowner is showing motivation to keep the house. Everybody, you guys get that?
No, I did not get it.
Okay. They're paying their first. They're paying the first mortgage. It means they want to stay in the house.
Mm-hmm.
They're not paying me in second position, but they are paying their first. Their first is current, which means they want to stay in the house. So I have a better shot of getting them to pay me by tweaking the terms, tweaking the UPB, that kind of thing. I have a better chance of getting them to pay me because they're current on their first. So in an odd sort of twist, it's actually more secure in a second position if you buy over a performing first.
So if you buy what?
Over a performing, their first is performing, they're current on their first mortgage.
Oh, okay.
Again, indicating they have interest in staying in the house.
Yes, I see.
Right.
And they're not current on the second. Is that what
Right.
you're saying? Okay.
And there's a lot of reasons why people become delinquent on the second. Some people forget they have a second.
Right.
Some people 8 years ago refinanced the first and thought the second was rolled up into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different reasons people stop paying the second that actually have nothing to do with not having money.
Yeah.
Jack says questions. Of course, questions are always available, are always proper. How can I lose money? You can lose money on a second by buying by somebody when you buy it. Let's say they're current on the first, and during the time that you're owning the note, they have lost their job or fell off a roof and broke both legs, or maybe their spine, and nobody else has a way to make money for the house. And all of a sudden, everything goes delinquent. They're never going to have a shot at paying it off or paying you. That's one way you can lose money on a second. You can lose money on a second by getting it all the way to foreclosure and then having it go to auction and nobody buying it. You're left with the deed to a house that's not worth anything, just like on the first. The difference is it doesn't cost you as much. So that's why I'm saying, like on these 13, if you were to buy these 13 notes, as in my example on the slide here, and only 6 of them got worked out and made money, I've made enough money on those 6 that the other 7 are just sort of icing, gravy, whipped cream, whatever you want to call it. So you absolutely can lose money on a second. The difference is you don't lose a ton of money on the second because they're cheaper. UPBs are smaller. You can lose money by being stripped in a bankruptcy. Therefore, you can't pursue the any payments. A lot of different ways to lose money on a second. They're not as secure as a first in regards that they can be stripped. But again, I go back to we buy seconds over performing firsts, which means people want to stay in the house.
Mhm.
And that's sort of our security, ironically. So I'm not going to say that you're always going to make money on seconds. You're not. You can absolutely lose money on seconds in all the ways I just talked about. But they're so much cheaper and the UPB is so much lower that even if you do lose money, it's not the end of the world. You know what happens with the pack when we lose money on seconds? They're still valuable to us because we put them in our loss column, which offsets our wins. It's a way, it's like a tax break. If I made 400,000 on these few notes, but I lost 200,000 on these notes, that means I only have to pay tax on 200,000. Does that make sense? So even
I understand.
yeah, so even in that way, they can be winners as well. Jack, are you with me? When I offer a change in the note, such as lowering interest or extending the terms, do we or can we charge any points or fees? Well, that would, you could, but that would sort of be bad faith because you're not really creating, okay, so what you're getting into is a very specific thing. So there's two different kinds of ways where you can adjust somebody's mortgage. You can either do it through a loan modification or you can do it through a forbearance. If you do it through a loan modification, that's a recorded document and you're now married to whatever that document says. If you do it through a forbearance and you put verbiage in the forbearance that says, if you don't live up to the terms of this forbearance, we revert back to the original mortgage terms. In a forbearance, you wouldn't be able to do points or fees. In a loan modification, you may be able to do it. Does that answer your question? So there's pros and cons on both sets of documents. So for the loan mod, the pro is that you could get points, you could get fees. The con is you're married to whatever it says now. So if you gave them a 2% interest rate, you're married to that forever. Forbearance, the pro is you can revert back to the original mortgage if they ever become delinquent again. The con is you can't charge anything for it. So that's how you can look at it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really phenomenal business and there's a lot of ways to get creative. And once you learn the bones of it, the skeleton, you can really start pursuing a lot of creative different avenues. But you have to get your skeleton first, your foundation.
Is it possible that we, as a group, we could go through this process with maybe just one note? It could be it doesn't have to be a real note. It could be something imaginary. Go through that process and then make changes or define changes, and then we make changes based on those changes that occur.
So in other words, you want me to do my class online? That's what I teach people in my class.
Yeah, yeah.
Specifics.
Yeah, that don't sound right. No, I don't want. We don't want you to do your class. But I'm thinking perhaps if we did it with a real note, we could say the teacher can get the profit, and we students are just looking.
Well, if it's my note, of course I'm getting the profit.
Yes,
That goes without saying.
yes.
Yeah, no, I actually don't. I've never done that before, and I'm not even sure of the avenue that I would use to do that.
Yeah.
How, if it's a whole group, who am I going to assign what to? If there's different tasks, I'm just not sure that something like that would be super productive in that everybody could follow along at the same rate. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes. Uh-huh.
It's a little different when I have people in front of me and I can take the time with them. When I have a whole group, it's not as easy. I try to make sure everybody's keeping up, but if people get left behind in like this kind of setting, there's not much I could do about that.
Yeah, I see.
And I would hate for that to happen.
Yeah. Jack says she might give in.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just hard to do something like that. I mean, think about from my perspective, how would I work that? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just not that easy. I do have a class there, Jack. I certainly do.
Somebody's beeping.
That's my, you know what that is? That's my phone telling me it's time to take my medicine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which I can't take because I haven't eaten.
Oh, yeah. I need to leave in about 5 minutes myself.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, that's all. It's telling me it's time for you to take your medicine, but I haven't eaten yet, so I can't take it.
Yeah.
So once I eat, I can take it.
Okay. Well, Jack and I don't want you to pass out.
Oh, no, I won't pass out.
Yeah.
That one is for when I threw the clot in my legs, I lost a lot of muscle mass, and I'm basically numb from my knee to my hip and both legs.
Oh.
And this particular medicine is just really to sort of massage the circulation, get it going again.
Mm. So you have to use a cane then?
No, I'm not using a cane, but I walk a little side to side instead of front to back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
My feet go sideways instead of forward.
Oh.
But I don't use a cane, but I am walking a little bit bizarre. Plus, the hospital lost my keys. And so when I finally got home, you know how much it cost me to get a key made for my car? It was crazy.
Over
clicker? How
100.
much?
Over $100.
$335 to get a key made.
Mm.
Just a clicker.
Yeah.
So upset.
You must
What?
have one that's less than 5 years old.
No, actually, my car is an 08.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but at the time that my car was made, the company was owned by Mercedes, and it's a Mercedes key.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Oh.
It's a Dodge, but remember when Dodge was owned by Mercedes? The Durango came out, that hot Durango, which I had one of those.
Oh, okay.
So the key is actually a Mercedes key, and so it's the cost of a Mercedes key.
Oh.
Very annoying. So Jack is asking, yes, I have a class. So what's next? Do I join an investing group or do I go to class? I want to learn more. I got into this business where I just bought notes. I just went up to somebody and said, I'd like to buy a couple notes, please. And I bought a couple of notes. And I learned everything that I know just on the notes that I bought. So in asking if you go to class, that's up to you. That's how do you learn? Do you learn better by doing? And are you willing to take the risk? Or do you learn better by having somebody instruct you? So that would be up to you. I never tell anybody they absolutely have to take a class. I personally didn't take a class. I learned everything just by doing, but I have a high risk tolerance. In other words, I don't mind losing a little bit of money. So I was okay with that. So that's up to you. To join an investing group, that is the people that you meet here. For example, Jay would be who you do an investing group with. And by that, I mean, let's say you have 100,000. Let's say Jay has 100,000. Together, you have 200,000. That's double the buying power. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you get 4 more people, each with 100,000. Now you have $600,000. That's triple the buying power of the two of you. And then you bring it, it depends on how you want to work that. So if that's what you mean by an investing group, I wholeheartedly recommend that. Just make sure you do it in a way that you don't have to worry about trusting who you're doing business with. I'm sure that made no sense.
To me, it does.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do it in a way where you don't have to worry about trusting the other person because it's built into the way it's set up. If you have 10 people, establish all the rules up front and ahead of time. If each person brings 100,000 to the table, that gives you $1 million. Well, I could tell you about the class right now. It's super simple. I do it on demand. I can do it in person or virtual. I think in person has more value. It is 2 days, 10 a.m. to whenever. So what does that mean? That means we could go to a bar until 2 in the morning. If you don't want to stop at 5, you want to keep going, we can keep going. So it starts every day at 10 o'clock for 2 days, and it goes until whenever. So you've got me as long as you want me. And like in your case, we could go over to the Rio Diner and have, breakfast at 2 in the morning and still keep talking notes. That's the way I work it. You have me until you're sick of hearing about notes. And I also give you my forms library, which is worth a fortune just by itself, because it's every document you need to get started in the business or to do your business. And so the whole class, 2 days plus the forms library, $2,000. Very simple. On demand, virtual, or in person. Was that enough info? And it's whenever you want. I mean, if you want to do it, Monday and Tuesday, we do it Monday and Tuesday. You want to do it Tuesday and Wednesday, we do it Tuesday and Wednesday. You want to do it, and generally haven't been so keen on doing it on the weekends, but now with COVID quarantine, pretty much every day is a weekend. So I'm good even with Saturdays and Sundays. But again, I do think there's way more value in doing it in person.
Did you say $2,000?
Yes. Yep. If you're doing it with somebody else, like somebody that you're starting a company with or who's already in your company, that person gets a $500 discount. So instead of $4,000, it'd be $3,500 for 2 people. In your case, Jay, because you're in Nashville, I don't know why I thought you were in Long Island. Because you're in Nashville, definitely virtual would be better for you, so you don't have to pay for a flight and a hotel and stuff.
Yes.
I do think there's more value in person. I don't know if that extra value is worth that added expense.
Uh-huh.
There's where you would weigh costs over. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, right. Uh-huh.
Right. I think that's a lot of added expense for like a smidgen of better.
Yeah. So how much did you spend in the beginning for your 2 notes?
So the very first 2 notes that we bought, we spent $9,100 or $9,400. I can never remember. It's either $9,100 or $9,400. Those were the 2 notes I bought at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And the UPB of those 2 notes was about $58,000. But pricing like that is not happening today. Ask me, here's a better question, how much I spent on my second trade.
How much did you spend on your second trade?
300,000.
Wow.
So once we got our feet wet with the two and we learned a little bit about them, then we went all in. We bought 30 notes for 300,000.
So how much time between the first purchase and the second purchase?
I'm going to say about a month and a half, 2 months.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Again, I have a fairly high risk tolerance. I don't
Uh-huh.
mind losing money,
Okay.
but I was sure enough about what we were doing that I actually didn't worry about losing money. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
So that's the way it works.
That's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, not for nothing, this is a great business. The thing to remember, though, and what a lot of people hear, those three words, get rich quick. This is not get rich quick. This is get rich.
Mm.
It is not a get rich quick deal. It's get rich. It will happen. It's just not going to be like overnight.
No.
So I always tell people, put that thought out of your head. And Jack is saying there is no such thing. And you are 100% correct, Jack. Jack is my neighbor, Jay. Did you know that? Not my neighbor, like per se, like for real in the house next door, but he's like one town over.
Oh, okay. That's good.
But in New Jersey, that equals like 2 miles.
Ah, all right.
In New Jersey, unlike Tennessee, in 10 square miles, you could have 4 towns.
Mm.
I like Tennessee.
Yeah.
Thinking about moving to Alabama, actually.
Oh, okay.
A lot of good stuff in Alabama.
Yeah, it's just one state below Tennessee.
Yepers. Yepers.
Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go because I know you need to take your medicine, and I don't know. Jack is saying something. Yes, we will meet.
We will meet in Rahway. You got it.
Okay.
Actually, if you do the class like during the summer, an awesome thing to do is like hang out in the park and do it. You know what I mean? In nice outdoors, or find an outdoor pub or something. That's always a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it at Meatballs and Brews in Rahway. Did you know it? On Main Street. And they shut it down.
Mm.
Through the pandemic, they shut it down.
Wow.
I'm so upset. I'm so upset. And then he started renting out his kitchen. I'm like, what does that even mean? How do you rent your kitchen out?
Mm.
Who are you renting it to? It makes no sense. So anyway, we will definitely find a location because that's my new problem. Meatballs and Brews was my spot, but I'm considering doing it in like a hotel room, you know, getting a hotel room or something and doing it there. Something along that line. There's a lot of different things that can be done. Locale is the easy part.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll let you and Jack continue talking, and I'm going to go.
Well, all right, Jay, I'm so glad to have heard you.
Yes.
And you are very sweet. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Okay. Yeah, I could tell you were so disappointed when I couldn't talk.
No, because you were prolific and you're commenting and it was all good, and yet I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
So I'm so glad that I can now.
Okay.
And now I hope that you have that microphone every time.
Yes. All right. I see Jay. Talk to you soon. Oh, thank you, Jack. I hope you have a good day, a good evening.
Yes, you too, sir.
All right. Bye, you two.
Bye, Jay.
Okay.
I'm so glad he got a microphone, Jack. He's like, and you have to get yours fixed. All right, very cool. So keep me posted, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks, unless I hear from you sooner. Oh, do you have, oh, normally I post my email address. This is the email. That's if you want the entire company to see what you're sending. And if you want just me to see what you're sending, there's my personal. All right, Jack, I'm glad to see you. This is your first time with us. I was glad to see you. Talk soon. Have a great night.